Hello, hello, and welcome once again. J76NY here, and welcome to the start of a new series. This game is called Suzerain, or Suzerain. It is from the developers Torpor Games. It's not the usual type of game I play, but I do ask that you give the game a chance, and who knows, you may like it. I watched part of another playthrough from another YouTuber, and I got pulled into the story. Developers did do a whole lot of work making it a very compelling story. They succeeded in that, and it really keeps the player engaged. The type of game it is it's part political simulator, part role-playing game. It's text-based, kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure type of game, where each choice you are offered 3 or 4 different options. Each of those options leads you down a different path and a different story, basically. The premise of the game is you are playing as a gentleman named Anton Rayne. You get into the political scene and are elected president of your homeland of Sordland. Sordland has had some pretty rough times of late. They went through a revolution. Read a review on Steam that said it was loosely based on the 1950s era Turkey. I'm going to turn this music down a little bit. Whether or not that's true, I'm not really up to speed on the history of Turkey, but it seems believable. Like I said, each choice you're offered, and you're offered 3 or 4 per interaction with your cabinet ministers, foreign leaders, business leaders, and your family. Each one of those choices leads you down a different path on the story, and they did a lot of work on the backstory of the lands here. You are basically surrounded on all sides by other countries. And inside your own political system, they did a lot of work on the backstory of that as well. And like I said, also the story is really, really compelling. So this is going to be the first playthrough of Suzerain. I'm going to play this one as a For the People playthrough. I'm going to try and make the choices that best benefit the citizens of Sordland. Going to play it as pro personal liberty, pro free markets. Going to play Anton as a family man who's loyal to his family and friends. The only kind of fault I'm going to try and give Anton, and this is just to kind of satisfy my own curiosity over whether or not this will work, is every time there's alcohol offered, I'm going to take a drink. So I'm going to see what we can do about making our flawless leader a raging alcoholic. It might be fun. Who knows? Like I said, all I ask is you give the game a chance, watch through a couple episodes, and let me know what you think in the comments below. This is the first playthrough For the People. I'm planning on doing a second playthrough where I play Anton as a little more of a hardline pro-government. It's going to be For the State playthrough. A little more ruthless, but still loyal to family and friends. I don't know about the whole booze thing. We'll see how that turns out. And then depending on the interest and the response, I may do another playthrough where I pick just the absolute douchiest option whenever possible. See how long it is before I get assassinated, because I have heard you can get assassinated in this game. So let's get into the story of Anton Rayne and Sordland. You are my enslavement and my freedom. You are my flesh burning like a raw summer night. You are my country. Well, we're off to a good start. Talking about burning flesh and all that. Now this is, you want to read that as I talk, mostly, actually all text-based. As you can see, it's choose your own adventure type of deal where you pick the route you take. Think of it kind of as I'm reading a novel to you. This is an audiobook, basically, about Anton Rayne and Sordland. So, a new beginning. You open your eyes to this world you came from. Let's see. And we'll go pour out of dire. Your parents named you Anton. As the only child of a farmer, you spent your childhood among the wheat fields. Life was not easy. You were too poor to afford a good education. The Rayne family was caring regardless of the economically dire situation. Your parents always did their best to support you. The years passed. 1923. During a history class at school, the bell started to ring unexpectedly. You heard a loud commotion outside. As everyone tried to figure out what was going on, the principal announced the historic revolution. The kingdom was no more. The Republic of Sordland was born. Let's see. We'll play it kind of cool. Cool, calm, and collected, Mr. Anton Rayne. After graduating, you passed the university exams with high marks. Even though your family was poor, the public education system made it possible to go to university. You had the opportunity to choose between several studies. Do we want to be a lawyer? Do we want to get into economics? Maybe be an accountant? Or do we want to get into history? We'll get into law. During the first year, you attended a lecture with David Wissey. And I'm going to butcher half these names, I know it, but he was a well-known diplomat from the foreign ministry and the son of the president. After observing the hall in silence, he explained how the Supreme Court is obstructing justice in Sordland. He stated that laws should be applied fairly, and that even the members of the Supreme Court are subject to the same laws. You agreed in principle, you questioned what you were being taught, and your only concern was passing the exams. I'm going to agree in principle, I guess. May 22nd, 1927. Soldiers entered the campus in the evening ahead of the first election. Many were in shock as the uniformed men created a security cordon and started arresting the teachers. A group of students started gathering in protest. Along with your best friend, Peter Vectern, you decide to... I'm going to join them. I'm going to be proactive here. One of the officers made a loud announcement that echoed through the campus. General Luderin declared martial law in order to restore the administration. Please stand back and disperse to your rooms. You join the students that slowly marched towards the large group of soldiers. Suddenly, the soldiers charged. A student fell and was trampled as everyone started running away. Do I want to stand my ground, seemingly the only one standing my ground, or do I want to run away with everybody else? And we'll hold our ground. Why not? The soldiers beat you relentlessly. That was probably a bad idea. See if I make it through the intro without dying. It was a really gloomy year. So I'm already getting my ass beat. Alright, it's October 10th, 1927. The arrested teachers were replaced by those that promoted conformism to the state. Holsword turned a blind eye to things that were happening. You didn't want to stay idle and decided to join a human rights group, a student council, or a political debate group. Well, we are going to be playing this for the people, so it's either a human rights group or a political debate group. Change it from the inside, change it from the top. We'll join the debate group. Why not? The dozens of debates helped you hone your oratory skills while also helping you grow your network. Even though the debates were pretty heated between different groups, you all grew from sharing ideas. In one of the meetings, Peter introduced you to one of his friends, Monica, who was a volunteer for the Swordish League of Women. You were immediately attracted to her intelligence, beauty, or her diligence. Well, I did stand my ground against soldiers, so we find common ground in our diligence. The politically charged environment led you to join the Red Youth, the Socialist. That's not going to happen. Join the Young Swords, the Nationalist, or stay away from any political organization. I'm going to stay away. Actually, if I were into a culture of political debates, I wouldn't be staying away, so we're going to join the Young Swords. June 2nd, 1928. The radio relayed that the communist General Ricard surrounded Lutheran and his troops, demanding their surrender. They refused, and heavy fighting broke out across the country. You just couldn't believe it. The army was fighting amongst himself. Sordland plunged into chaos. So this is the Swordish Civil War. Ricard's sudden attack caused even more bloodshed in the country. He seemed different compared to fascist Lutheran. In your opinion, however, he was more of the same. So you participated in a protest march. You were chanting, "One nation, one system, one people. End the chaos. We want stability. And united we stand, divided we fall." Message of unity. You were marching against Ricard. The students and soldiers supporting the coup gathered a few hundred meters away. Many socialists were among them. You knew something was going to happen. So you stayed. We are going to stick around. There was a massive clash between the two sides. Soldiers began to beat the students. And there I am, first in line to get beat. Tanks started rolling forward. In this chaotic moment, you saw a young girl about to get run over by a tank. I can save her, or I can warn her. And we'll start out with some bravery, some cojones. But you couldn't reach her in time. You never forgot her face. That sucks. As the tank ran it over and turned it to pulp. The clashes escalated into a full-blown civil war. The horrors made you isolate yourself for a while. Monica helped you cope, and love grew between the two of you. However, it was a difficult time for love. Chaos must end. All right, 1929. Seoul restores the Republic. Charismatic Colonel Tarkin Seoul orchestrated a sudden coup and brought an end to the chaos. He wrote a new constitution and restored stability. The people saw him as a savior. He formed the United Sordland Party and ran as a presidential candidate. In the first ever elections... What if I want to vote for someone else? I guess it's either vote for Sordland, the United Sordland Party, or don't bother. Alright, well, there we go. It's better than war. United Sordland Party won the election by a large majority. After graduation, you kept seeing Monica and noticed her interest to marry. However, a letter arrived from the military calling you to fulfill your compulsory service. It was time to serve your national duty. Alright. The Wayland Civil War of 1930 in the Berkshire region. A devastating civil war broke out in the neighboring country, Wayland. The distinguished Major, Josef Lancia, ordered you to lead your squad on a border patrol mission. It was a very cold winter night when you began marching out of Gumrin Outpost. You could see your breath. After several hours of marching through the snowy hills, distant noises were heard. Visibility was too low to confirm the source. The squad crawled forward in formation and found a spot to observe. A group of refugees had made it beyond the border fence. You escorted them back or let them slip through. I'm gonna let them go. Didn't see nothing. After the patrol, Major Lancia arrived with anger and immediately relieved you of your command, calling you a disappointment. One of your squad members had reported your actions. After several months of scrubbing the floors as punishment, your duties ended and you went back to civilian life. Knocking it out of the park, I am. And in 1931, you and Monica decided to share your lives together. Yay. After receiving the blessing of her parents, a ceremony was held in Holsword. During the same year, you worked hard to secure a high-paying job at the governing United Sordland Party. It was much more difficult to start your career on a good foot because of the refugee incident, but you still managed. Working for the ruling party was the easiest path to power. The financial compensation was too great to pass up. It was the best opportunity to change the country for the better. I think after seeing a girl get run over by a tank, I'm going to look to change things, because I can imagine that would be pretty traumatic. Although coming from a poor background, I may have different motivations. So financial compensation or change the country for the better. We'll change the country for the better. You became the legal assistant to one of the more experienced members of Assembly. You worked long and hard, staying late at work and going through hundreds of pages of legal documents. You were climbing the ladder. September 1933, Seoul's second election win. Seoul strengthened the republic by removing the institutions and symbols of the former kingdom from society. Things were also looking up for the country as the massive economic boom continued, and people were the happiest they'd been in a decade. Election time came and it was decided. President Tarkin Seoul was elected once more. The ongoing legal battle between the Justice Ministry and the Supreme Court put you under a lot of stress, but your significant contribution to the legal case triggered an invitation to meet President Tarkin Seoul himself, who offered you a key position. You were to become the youngest member of the Assembly. Change from within, right? Gonna jump on that chance. And in 1938, Seoul's third election win. As the youngest MP, it was difficult to connect with the influential inner circle. You needed allies, so you brought Peter as your right-hand man. The birth of your son, Frank, provided a brief moment of joy and relief. You sacrificed work to spend time with your family. Sacrifice family to improve your position in the party. Family man, Anton Rayne. October 1941, Seoul's fourth election win. My God, this guy's popular. Or the only one on the ballot. During your absence, Peter found trustworthy contacts and strengthened your position in the party. At the same time, President Seoul increased his authority over the years. His growing ego started to cause strife within the party. The cracks began to show. Jump ahead to October 1945, his fifth election win. President Seoul barely secured a majority in the election against the opposition leader. Over the past year, people were growing discontent with corruption and the worsening quality of life. Meanwhile, calls for a united Sordland Party Congress became louder as leadership struggle started to brew. You Let's see, watched from the sidelines, kept supporting President Sol, or joined the internal opposition. Let's see. What would be the best way to go with this? Either I'm not going to support him because he's on his last leg, and that shows that the people are not happy with him. It's also not good for my political career, so we are going to join the internal opposition. You gave your support to Ewald Alfonso, a reformist and talented business magnate who was the main contender for party leadership. Meanwhile, in a desperate effort to secure votes before the Congress, President Sol was meeting party members one by one, but he didn't approach you. The party Congress was nothing short of impressive. The banners of United Sordland were decorating every possible spot. Thousands of influential political figures, lobbyists, and benefactors gathered for this turning point. The voting for the party leadership began. I am not going to vote for Mr. Sol, so Mr. Ewald, you have my vote, sir. The effort bore fruit as the contentious leadership vote was won by Ewald Alfonso. During the Congress, Sol announced his retirement from politics. So you would think that he wouldn't just go out like that. You think he'd put up more of a fight after 5 election wins. Oh well. You knew the structure he had established was to stay. The country had become increasingly authoritarian, which is not how we were going to play things. So you were happy that Sol was finally leaving, were troubled by his departure, and didn't really care who was in charge. We are happy he's gone. A month later, your daughter was born. Monica named her Deanna. She motivated you during a tumultuous period in the party. The general elections were approaching. The United Sordland Party was under the new leadership of Ewald Alfonso. You joined the party effort and campaigned for him, or did your best not to help him? Why would I not want to help him? I voted for him. During the general elections, the main opposition leader was embroiled in a sex scandal with his secretary. He was replaced by the strong opposition figure, Franz Richter, but the damage had been done. The extensive privatization program proposed by Ewald Alfonso secured an election victory for the United Sordland Party. Over the next years, you did your best in order to make Sordland a better place, tried all that was necessary to climb the ladder, and dedicated yourself to the party and its success. Well, the party seems to be on the right track. So we're gonna go with the party. Can't change things from within if your party can't hold on to power. The presidency of Ewald Alfonso saw many bold reforms, but was followed by a serious economic recession. The other parties announced their bids for the 1953 election, but the unfair system hampered all opposition efforts to win. You thought that your party could not survive another crisis, were worried about the economic recession, or worried that your reputation would be tarnished along with Alfonso. Recession's never a good thing. Together with Peter, your presence in the USP grew and you became the face of a new wing in the party. You effectively took over the leadership as President Alfonso lost control of the country. The moment to make a move had come. You blamed Alfonso for the crisis on television, bribed and extorted Alfonso's inner circle. That just sort of came out of nowhere. Or advised Alfonso to step down. What would I do if I was in Anton's situation? Blaming him on TV could probably win you over with the populists. Quietly working behind the scenes might be a better way to go, so you don't put yourself out there so boldly. I don't know if I want to get too aggressive with this right off the bat. But it could be a way to make a name for myself. I'm going to advise him to step down. He didn't take your advice seriously and started to reshuffle his cabinet, but most of his inner circle abandoned him. Hey, your diplomatic attitude made the party vote you in as the leader. Oh, there we go. Following this, you announced that you would be running for president in the general election with Peter as your running mate. It was your turn. October 1953. After visiting every city and town during the campaign, you made a speech on state television. You promised to enact democratic reforms or preserve national values. The country's changing, so those national values may not exactly be the best representation of what the future of Sordland may have in store for us. So we're going to go with some reforms. The people are tired of empty promises. We need fundamental change in our institutions and government. A solid and transparent democracy awaits us. Brothers and sisters, a new constitution and a new age is upon us. The broadcast ended. On election day, millions went out to cast their vote. It was time to face the truth. You lose. Game over. Chapter 1, President Rayne. Apparently I didn't lose. So what's a president do? We shall find out. Oh, here's Anton Rayne himself. We get to customize him. Hairstyle, default. No. God, no. Oh boy. Look at all the options. And there we go. Facial hair. How about a full beard? It's not an option. No full beards for Anton. Have him look like a circus strongman. Why not? Attire. See what he's dressed as. Does it really matter? Yeah, we'll go with all black. Why not? Accessories. Glasses. Oh my god. Brown glasses. Thin glasses. Lesbian cigar. A pipe. Or nothing. I'm going to go with thin glasses. And a background of... That is just fine. Fourth President of Sordland, Anton Rayne, and his... wax mustache. Here we go. That's me. I'm the president of Sordland, Brenna. You will not be able to change how President Rayne looks from this point forward. I'm okay with that. Holy shit. Look at all this. Like I said, they really put a lot of effort into keeping the player engaged. How that translates into a YouTube series, we will find out. As Anton Rayne, you have made many promises to the people of Sordland in order to gain their vote. They must be considered very carefully. Sordland's economy has been based on a plan doctrine since its formation until the former president, Ewald Alfonso, enacted free market reforms. Now the country finds itself in between two different economic systems. We are going to promote a free economy. The intensifying global rivalry... Take two. The intensifying global rivalry between capitalist Arcasia in the west and communist United Contana in the east is opening new diplomatic possibilities. Sordland could take steps to align itself closer to one. So we're going free market. kind of an obvious choice. In recent years, Blutish, Wazek, and Agnolian immigrants flocked to Sordland due to relaxed immigration laws enacted by Ewald Alfonso. As a result, tensions in between Swords and immigrants have been increasing. Well, my people aren't happy, so we are going to tighten the immigration laws. We have also promised to focus on certain extensive subjects within our first term. The people expect us to solve the negative situation with this topic while providing an overall improvement to the related policies. Health. Since 1940, the difference of service quality between urban and rural hospitals has been getting increasingly worse, and the average life expectancy has dropped significantly. The lack of schools, teachers, and even classroom equipment in certain areas causes massive gaps in the previously robust educational system. Increased crime is pushing law enforcement to their limits, while judges at courts deal with a huge and expanding backlog of legal cases, and the military protects the country from hostile threats, and while some see it as a massive financial burden, others argue it is a critical deterrent. I think I'm going to invest in Sordland's human capital and go with education. These promises will be remembered, and they will have consequences. Let's just hope I can remember them myself. And yes, I am sure about my decision. 2 weeks have passed since we won the election. Okay. Oh, I guess you gotta click it. And now I was about to be sworn in as the 4th president of Sordland. Thousands were watching the inauguration ceremony and cheering my name, Anton Rayne. My guy looks like an Anton Rayne, doesn't he? Handsome devil. The die was cast. And there my story began. In the distance, the Maroon Palace stood on top of the famous Hill of Pride. I had no way of knowing what future awaited me there. Now, this is what I was talking about by the backstory. You click on these little hot links here, and it gives you a whole description of everything that you need to know about just about everything. I mean, you've got hot links in the description, so like this right here. Orloy is the 4th largest city in the greater Holsword region. I mean, you can go... Can you... Whoops. I guess that closes it. We'll bring it back. The Hill of Pride was named during the declaration of the Kingdom of Sordland, when thousands of countrymen started proudly singing the new anthem of Sordland. It is located at the center of Holsword, so my palace is on a hill, and we are proud of it. Oh, looks like we can go through all of this. Peter Vectern. Yeah, and you get a whole Wikipedia-like description of... That's a lot. Every single person in your cabinet. So, here's my family. Wife, daughter, son. The party leaders. Let's close these out so we have room. Franz Richter is a Swordish politician. We can always read these as we go. I don't really need to go through them all right now. National Front Party. Justice Party. People's Freedom and Justice Party. No picture. Workers' Party of Bludia. Alright, well, here's the Assembly. That's a lot. Supreme Court. Foreign leaders. I'm sure we'll be dealing with plenty of foreign leaders, state figures, business, ex-presidents. Who's this guy? Artur Wissy. Oh, I remember that name. And other. Alright. Now, what do we have here? History, timeline, important events, ideologies. Yeah, look at this. This is insane, the amount of detail they put into creating a very good backstory for this. At some point, I'll get into it. Maybe do a little thing as I learn the game. But right now, let's see locations. Countries, cities, regions, landmarks, and organizations. Political parties. Governmental. Just so much. Tip my hat to these guys. Alright, the country overview. This gives a list of active policies. Current situation, court backlog, limited women's rights, the Blutish problem. Sordland has a complicated relation with the millions of Blutish people living inside its borders. Some human rights, freedom of the press. Okay, the economy, Alfonsonomics. Weak transportation links, unemployment crisis, so we're kind of screwed. And then up here, your economic development is listed. You've got a budget and wealth. It's the military, welfare, order, diplomacy, political overview. All right, this is my cabinet. Here's my vice president, my chief of staff, minister of the interior, economy, commerce and energy, justice and law, defense and security, minister of education, technology and research. Here's this guy. I thought he was a former president. Minister of foreign affairs and trade. Does it say anything about him? Oh, he was his son. His father was the president. Minister of Agriculture, Health, Social Affairs, and Labor. Factions. Alright, so we've got the Old Guard, are the Solists, so they're probably not going to be our best friends. The oligarchs are the few powerful elite who control the majority of wealth in Sordland. Their influence, both in and out of Sordland, have been growing due to privatization efforts of the past. Some claim that they have established a deep state that controls the state apparatus. That's the Old Guard, with Orso Hawker as its key figure. He's a leader of the Supreme Court, and the Reformists, with Franz Richter. Okay, here's the legislature. United Sordland Party, that's us. Oldest political party in the country and is currently acting as the governing party. The USP describes itself as a modern democratic party which is faithful to the founding principles and values of the Republic of Sordland. The party is cited as the founding party of blah blah blah. Here are the opposition parties. Very small number of independents. We've got the NFPs here. The National Front Party is the ultra-conservative, ultra-conservative political party in Sordland. And the People's Freedom and Justice Party. Grand National Assembly. Gloria Torrey is the Speaker, Leader of the Opposition, Chairman of the NFP, and the Judiciary. This is apparently the Supreme Court. Looks like the Old Guard holds a majority of the seats, with the centrists and the reformists having an equal share. What do we have down here? Notes. Feel free to take notes here to help you remember important points throughout our story. Oh my god, there's a little notepad you can write down stuff so you don't forget things. Well, that's clever. Settings. Alright, well, let's go back to where we were. Bye-bye. It's my journal. Turn 1. We have won the 1953 election. A new chapter in Sordland begins. Okay. All right. In the distance, the room. Okay, already read that. I looked at my family. My son and daughter, Frank. We're just going to say Frank. Frank and Deanna were next to Monica, my wife. Her eyes were glimmering with pride. Then I turned towards the key people who made it all possible. Of course, each individual was promised an important position in my cabinet. As my thoughts slowly faded away, the reality of the situation dawned on me. Orso Hawker, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, was waiting for me. The time for the oath has come. I am ready. Oh, now this is where it gets into the choices that could affect how these people interact with you in the future. So we actually have to put some thought into how we answer this guy. It says, I am ready. It's kind of a neutral. It has indeed. And let's start. They all seem kind of innocent. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. Okay. Skip ahead a little bit here. I do solemnly swear that I will respectfully execute the office of President of Sordland and to the best of my abilities preserve, protect, and defend the people and the Constitution of the Republic of Sordland. You may now deliver your inaugural speech, Mr. President. Thank you. It is an honor. Let's begin. We'll go with it's an honor. All right, dear citizens of Sordland, brothers and sisters, my fellow swords. That sounds good. Crowd looked very eager. Let's see. The idea of unity. See, that's what happens when all these politicians, Republicans, Democrats, they win the election. They always call for unity. None of them ever mean it, though, so we're going to skip over that. Change and hope. You, the people, have chosen. Together we will bring prosperity and reform to our nation. It is a time of hope. It is a time of change. If we stand together, we will prevail our capabilities. Well, things aren't looking good, and I want the people to kind of feel good about themselves, so we'll go with this. Our workers are no less productive than a decade ago. Our capable minds are no less inventive. Our products and services no less requested than they were last week, last month, or last year. I promise you we will stop the recession and eliminate poverty. The future awaits us. It's time to turn our faces to the West. First, we must rewrite our broken Constitution from 1929. Well, I want to go pro-capitalism, so that's where it is. The future lies in the West. The future awaits us. It's time to turn our faces to the West. It's time for a united and powerful Sordland once again. Change now, not in the next decade or years. Today, our capacity as a nation has never been greater. I'm going to go with number 3. Hundreds of thousands cheered. They were shouting my name in unison. I felt the responsibility, the power, and the burden all at the same time. Raise a fist, wave, or enjoy the moment. Let's give them a wave. And that made the crowd cheer louder. I wonder what would have happened if I raised my fist. I took a long look at the people of Sordland to burn this moment into my memory. One of the presidential guards came by to notify me that it was time to leave. I made my way to the leading car in the motorcade. The presidential state car was a jet black Cadillac with flags of Sordland above the front headlights. Next to it, a man was holding the door. Serge Wolkner. Driver. Hello, Mr. President. Hello, Serge. How are you today? Still under the effect of the speech I made, hearing my new title made me smile. If you allow me to introduce myself, I am Serge, your new driver. Nice to meet you, Serge. At ease, Serge, or it's a pleasure. Well, he seems nice enough. It's a pleasure to meet you, bro. Pleasure's all but mine, Mr. President. He respectfully bowed his head before opening the car door and gesturing inside. I entered the car. We'll be heading towards the palace. The motorcade began to move. On the way, Serge proceeded to explain his duties as a driver. As minutes passed by, I found myself lost in thought again, barely paying attention to what he was saying. He suddenly made a gesture towards the now closer palace. Isn't it a beauty, the maroon palace? He was right. Sunlight glinted off the palace's many maroon-colored domes. It was so bright that I had to look away. Every time I look at it, I'm reminded of my duties to this nation. Let's see, I could thump my own chest. I could express my own awe. Let's see, we will owe a great debt to the men who led this country from here. It's just a building. We'll stick with the symbolism. So do I, Serge. It's the beating heart of the nation after all. Well said, Mr. President. The car drove past the majestic gates, continued uphill to the entrance, and stopped in front of the doors. Serge got out of the car and opened the door for me. Have a great day, Mr. President. A Morgana West Corps. You referred to the famous swordist phrase from the times of revolution, A Morgana West Corps Vectern Sis Da, which meant morning will come, victory is close. Here we go. Making friends left and right. I made my way upstairs through the extravagant corridors of the palace. Marbled and engraved wooden finishes decorated the interior. My footsteps echoed in the colossal halls. The guards bowed their heads in respect as I opened the massive doors to my new office. Alright, that's going to do it for the premiere episode of our For the People playthrough on Suzerain. Like I said at the beginning, watch a couple episodes, give it a chance. You never know, you might like it. I was pretty skeptical when I started watching someone else's playthrough, but the story pulled me in. Pulled me in pretty good, too, seeing as I went out and I got the game, and here we are. Anyway, if you like the episode, hit that like button. It'll help my channel out and the series. If you would like to follow along here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. I am going to be streaming this over on Twitch, so if you'd like to actually participate in shaping the future of Sordland, I'm going to try and do that between 2 and 4 or 2 and 5 Eastern Standard Time, whatever that translates to in wherever you are. Come on over and join. And I'm pretty curious to know what you guys think about the game, so leave your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the premiere episode. Next episode, we're actually going to get into some policy making. But until then, J76NY saying thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a very good day.